What's good, squad? It's your girl Kaylee, and welcome to another session of the Boss Chick Corner. If you saw the title of the show, then you already know we are back to business today. Yep, it is a boss's spotlight, and I'm hoping we can all find some motivation from this young lady's journey and be inspired to just level up, boss up in some type of way. But before I bring her on, go ahead. You know the drill. Hit that like button, hit that comment. Let me know you are here this Saturday and subscribe for me. Go ahead, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, say yay, I am here. K Squad, just let me know you're here. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe because I need you here. Join the K Squad. We stay lit and we keep it business over here. Now, let's get into it. Welcome another boss chick to the corner, Miss Vanessa Zamy. Hey, hey, how you doing?
Hello. Hello. Happy to be here. Yes. Hello.
Yes, I'm so glad that you are joining us today. So how is your morning? Well, afternoon so far since you're on the East Coast. We're Central Time here.
Oh yeah. Well, so the morning just wrapped up. It is now noon. But yeah. So the morning's pretty good. Yeah. Did a bunch of stuff actually. I was
Oh,
when I came back home, I was like, oh, look at that. So much has already been done. But yeah. So
great.
far so good. Yeah. That's the morning, and yeah.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, before we dive into our conversation, I like to do icebreakers, just to, loosen things up, and before we get into the conversation, because I think this is the first time that we've actually spoken live together. I know we've commented on several things
Yeah.
together.
Hmm.
But let's break the ice a little bit. And I know we've probably all seen the TikTok challenge. Put a finger down. Let's do the business edition. All
Cool.
right.
Okay.
So, first up, I'm going to do it too. So, put a finger down if you started your business at home.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a finger down. Yeah, you can't see it. Finger
Okay.
down.
Put a finger down if you wake up in the middle of the night to jot down ideas.
Oh no. It's either before I sleep or after I sleep. But I get my sleep. I get my 8 hours in. You know what I'm saying?
Girl, it's a struggle sometimes. Like I be dreaming, and then next thing you know, I'm trying to like let me go ahead and do this before it disappears.
No, I do that before. Yeah, usually that happens as I'm going to sleep or after I wake
Yeah.
up. Yeah. Once
Okay.
I'm sleeping, I'm
Okay.
sleeping.
Girl.
And I remember my dreams in the morning when I wake up.
Oh,
And that's
now that's always a struggle for me. Like some, if I remember it, then I know I feel like it's meant for it to happen. But by the time like 5-10 minutes, like what did I just dream about? And I felt like I've been running for a long time. Like now I can't even remember it. So okay, put a finger down if you are a solopreneur.
nope. Got my good old team. Good stuff.
Yes, I'm striving to get there. um, put a finger down if you don't like asking for help.
Oh, God. Got this
Pretty
spot.
healthy, pretty healthy.
I love
Good,
asking
good,
for
good.
help. Yeah. But a lot
Yeah.
of my friends don't like asking for help, which is why it takes them
Mhm.
a long time to get to me, which is why I'm called the business defibrillator because they don't get to me until
Mhm.
they get to the hospital bed and they're like, I need help.
Yes.
They could have asked for help beforehand, but no, no, no. They had to do it themselves.
They used to be me, but now I don't mind asking for the help at all.
That's good.
Um
That's good. You're gonna go far. You're gonna go far.
okay, put a finger down if you refer to your business as we when speaking to a client.
As we, yeah.
Yeah. I do that now even as a solopreneur. Just we, yeah. All right. Put a finger down if you work more than 8 hours a day.
On my business. I mean, probably. Yeah. I mean, it's probably a lot of, yeah, I do a lot of talking. But pretty much what I do is I talk a lot. Yeah. And then some days it's lighter than others. But I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
we'll do that.
Okay.
Average. Like today, it's only this hour. But the other
What?
days,
What? And then it's the weekend, so that kind of you know. Hopefully you get your self care in. We're gonna talk about that too. So, all right, put a finger down if you work on vacation.
oh no.
I'm
And
I'm
it's not a
good.
vacation, yeah. I teach my
I'm
clients,
guilty.
but it's okay. Some of my clients do work on vacation, and so that's why
Yeah.
when they start working with me, they do that, and then
Yeah.
once we get together on the tips to how to avoid burnout and overwhelm, they then
Yeah.
stop working on vacation. Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to get like you. I'm trying to get there.
Or it's a two in one. Because essentially, the thing is, a lot of times when people say, "Okay, I work on vacation," they feel bad about it, right? Because they
Mm-hmm.
intended it to be a
A
vacation.
vacation.
But it's like if you like for example, one of my clients is going out to Portugal, but she's going out to
Ooh.
Portugal as a business trip, right?
Mm,
So part of what I'm telling her is like, yes, enjoy it, right? It's a business trip, but also take the time to relax and enjoy and make it
exactly.
vacation, right? So in that case, it is a combo, right? But if you
That
send me something
balance.
to be in a vacation, keep it a vacation. Yes.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right. Put a finger down if you forgotten what day it is.
Oh yeah, sometimes I do that. Oh, I do it all the time. Yeah. Okay. What is the date? Keep this already the end of August. I mean,
Right. I think that was Tuesday out Wednesday. I was like, it already feels like Friday. Is it today Friday? Yeah.
yeah. Same thing happened when I was in corporate as well too. Like time, we can talk about it.
Yes, yes. Oh, put a finger down if multiple streams of income is the goal.
Oh,
Okay, okay. And last one, put a finger down if you are learning something new in your field every day.
I mean, I think we that should yeah, everyone should put their finger down for that one. Yeah.
Yes,
If you're
yes.
not
So
learning, you're not growing.
I believe that too. Like you can always be taught something. We don't know everything. So and then things are changing all
Oh
around. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Today I just learned about this put a finger down game on TikTok.
Really?
I know by never have I ever that I've played in real life.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like the new age version
Yeah,
of
probably.
this.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe put a finger
yeah,
down. You were like, oh.
yeah. So they're most like if you have less than five fingers down, you are a serialpreneur or entrepreneur. That's what we're gonna say today. So you had four fingers, I had the one still left. So if you we some serial entrepreneurs over here.
Love it, love it.
Awesome, awesome. I like to do these just to, break the ice, like I said. And now we can get into it. So it's kind of like a 21 questions type of thing. We just want to get to know you and your business. So tell us, who is Vanessa Zamy and how is the business defibrillator born?
Yes. So, I mean, that's a big question. Who's Vanessa Zamy? But I'm gonna answer. I'm gonna say some stuff. Feel free to interrupt me or whatever. Yes. So was gonna say, oh, hey there, whoever's there. Hey. But yeah. So in terms of the business, so I'll start backwards. So the business defibrillator, essentially, why my clients call me that. I think I mentioned a little bit of this earlier, but why my clients call me that is because I help bring life back to them in their business. Specifically, I work with local community businesses, storefronts, salons, shops, delicious
Okay.
cafes, and helping them to revive, grow, and scale their business without burnout, deprivation, or overwhelm. So what happens a lot of times is that my clients, they start their business, great, they want financial freedom, and then 10 years later, they still have their business, but they don't yet have that financial freedom. And a lot of my clients are in their like 50s. And so they're thinking about retirement, thinking about, okay, what does that, look like? Like, where's this freedom that I was
Right.
promised when I became a business owner?
Right.
And then what happens is that then, they start to try to, figure it out themselves. Like we mentioned, some people don't ask for help, right? So try to figure
Mm-hmm.
out themselves. And then they end up just wasting a bunch of money, hemorrhaging money, in either ads or teams or people, and it just doesn't work out. So then by the time they come to me, that's when they're like, okay, I need another brain. I need a sounding board. And so that's where I come in as a business defibrillator and really helping them to unpack what's essentially wrong in their business. When it
Okay.
comes to their marketing, their sales, their leadership, their finances, I look in all areas. And then from there, I'm also at the same time taking a holistic approach. So I also take a look at my client's life as well too, and looking at their family, their home, themselves, and how can we then develop the best strategy and path moving forward for their business, for their marketing, and for their life as well too, to get them towards that financial freedom. I call
Yeah.
my client Local Laura. That's what I call
Ah!
her. Yeah. And so what I do in summary is business strategy consulting for small businesses. What I did prior to business or entrepreneurship life
Right.
was in business strategy, but it was for a Fortune 500 company. So think like the, this Fortune 500 company. And so I essentially was doing strategy for them. And then during one of the roles, I started my business and I grew the business on the side of the day job. So I kept the day job. Some people, some of us don't have that privilege of just leaving and escaping, right?
Right.
So I kept that day job and kept the business, and then went full time into my business. And but pretty much, yes, it's an extension of what I am great at: problem solving, strategy, and helping people.
So you found your passion within your job, like your day job, because a lot of people don't always find that those two in the same place. So that's wonderful. You reinvented yourself, or kind of created extension of
Yep,
yourself. I
yep,
like that.
yep, yeah.
I like
I mean,
that.
before it was like one of those things where I found the passion during university. Because I started it out as pre med. I was going to be a neurosurgeon, and then
Oh.
and
Oh.
then and then I happened upon business. That's a whole nother story. And then when I happened upon business, I learned about consulting. And through that, that's when, and pretty much consulting is the act of advising people and giving recommendations and helping them actually move forward in their stuckness, right? They're stuck. You help give them some tips and then they move forward. And so I was like, oh, I can solve problems all day. This is great. And so
Yes.
that's how I got into consulting, and that kind of spun off. And
Yes, I like it. So you said you went in for pre-med. Pre-med. Yeah, it does happen like that. And I work at a university now myself. So I try to tell the students that are incoming now, they're already like, how many credits do I need to graduate with this? And I'm thinking, what you're thinking today may not even be the end. So just
yeah.
enjoy the process and figure out who you are, figure out who you are first. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
was trying. We have interns during the summer who are like high school interns, so they're, and then one of them was actually going off to college, and so she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm taking like way more credits than freshmen usually take because my advisor told me like because I want to do this and that," and I was like, "I'm not your advisor. You probably don't know me. You only know for a couple of weeks, so I'm just saying from life experience, just enjoy the process and enjoy your
Yes.
freshman year, like." I was that person who also took a lot of credits. It strikes me for Bruce. But yeah, and so, but it's very interesting. It's sort of a, you just don't know, right? You just, like, I had the 13-year plan. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go this, and I'm going to med
Mm,
school, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I'm Grey's Anatomy, it's the whole thing. And then, and then, and then that just didn't disappear.
right.
And that was my early experience with, like, you plan, and it just, sometimes the plan just wasn't meant to be, and that's all right.
Exactly. I went in for journalism.
Okay, okay, okay. You kind of do a little bit of that right now, though. You're kind of a
And,
little bit, a little
and
bit.
I was able to combine that with business and my love for music. So I got three best of the both, all three worlds into one. But I was in journalism for 2 years before I was like, let me switch over. And they just so happened to have a program that let me combine them all three. And I'm like, hey, at
Oh,
least that was not
awesome.
wasted. So
No, my
yeah,
credits were wasted. I went into management science and engineering, and it was just like you got to start from the very beginning. I was like, okay, well, the time wasn't wasted. The energy, I learned a lot.
right.
So,
Knowledge is
yeah,
power. You might run into somebody that might need that piece of information.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And everything happens for a reason, and here I am today.
Firm believer
So,
in it.
yeah.
I am. Okay. So the business defibrillator, that is your personal brand,
Mm-hmm.
but you also have the company Your Visions Catalyst.
Catalyst. Yep.
Tell me more about that.
So your vision's catalyst, because that was essentially how it all started, right? As your vision's catalyst. And so the mission of my company, Your Vision's Catalyst, is to equip and empower ambitious business owners and entrepreneurs to keep moving forward in their vision. So when that fateful day
Mm,
comes, because we're all gonna die one day. So when that fateful day comes, they can say they lived a life without any shoulda, coulda, or woulda. So all about helping less people die with regret, right? And
yeah.
so pretty much in a nutshell, though, what does it need to equip and empower? For me, the best way that I do that is through education. So when I have a whole bunch of stuff online, whether it be posts or articles or do my own live show and all other things,
Yeah.
it's really all about. Oh, I'm a speaker as well too. Oh, and I'm a professor. So it's all about equipping and empowering through education. Now that I think about it, so ultimately, that's what your business council is really all about, right? As a business defibrillator, it's more of the consulting arm of my business where
Okay.
I'm working specifically one-on-one with businesses, and I do one-on-one because with the high achieving ambitious clients that I have, right, they all have different things happening, right? And so
Right.
my whole thing, my whole framework that I use is really all about helping to meet people where they are, and
Hmm.
then taking those like personalized, customized strategies and recommendations that they need to get them to where they want to be. right? Because financial freedom looks different for many different people, and being stuck, right, looks different for many different people. Like, for example, one client of mine, when she came to me, she was at $120,000 per year in sales, and she just like stayed there for 3 years. She had been in business for 13 years, but since the last 3 years at that time, she had been at that same income amount year after year after year. And she's like, I'm trying to grow. Like, my kids are at the house. Like, and she's like, I want me and my husband to be on the Cayman Islands. And like, and then one of her children was actually on their way to producing a child. So she's going to get even more grandkids. And so she was like thinking about the future and what her store could look like, given this whole transformation. Right. Whereas another client of mine, where she has been in business for 12 years, unmarried, no children, in her 50s though, and they're still thinking about, okay, financial freedom and how can I, leave the business, but grow the portfolio. Like, she had been in business for 12 years, but grow her portfolio of real estate investing that she also had on the side and all those things of that nature. And they have another client who, nonprofit organization she had for 5 years. At the same time, though, she was still committed to her day job, which was in education. And so she still wanted to keep her position and title, moving up to superintendent, but at the same time, still having her nonprofit, still making that change, but essentially being able to make the change in two different ways. And now, fast forward for her, for example, we just caught up this past week, and now she's, based on her day job and based on what she's doing with her nonprofit, she is now in the decision-making room in these different, big financial, people who had the resources, the financial resources to then carry her mission even more further. And so it's one of those things where the vision and the current state looks different for many different people, but ultimately the common thread is that everyone's stuck, right? And they know that but they have confidence that there's some way they can move forward, and there's some way that their vision is definitely possible, right? And they still can reach that financial and time freedom, but ultimately it's like, how do they make that happen? And so that's where I come in as a business defibrillator to help these local Lauras really, transform their business, transform, the way that they're looking at their business, and ultimately hustle and breathe. So
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that if you can't see quite where the growth needs to happen, another set of eyes or a couple set of eyes won't hurt, and taking advice from somebody who has the experience to do so. So definitely spreading it around, and bringing in resources to help you get to where you want to be. So we have to get out of our own way, people. We can't do everything by ourselves. Hire somebody who can see the vision as well. And that's another thing that I always like to tell people: get someone who sees the vision with you and sees beyond the vision with you. Because a lot of people will say, yeah, I can help you do this, but they don't see the vision. They just see the dollar sign.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, with that, 2 points I want to add to that. So one, be careful who you listen to. And then two is the whole part about the vision. Like, for example, like, I have a lot of time, I call them creators, right? But a lot of, sort of artists, just people who just have a creative mind, they'll come to me and they're like, Vanessa, I got like these 5 different projects, 5 different businesses, right? These 3 for profit, 2 nonprofit. And like, I was just talking to someone about this like a few weeks ago, right? And, she's like, shopping around because she's like, okay, I need help, right? So she's shopping around for different, business coaches. I consider myself consultant for different reasons. Different question later on, probably. But ultimately, right? She got to me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like, you're like the first person who didn't tell me to like focus on one business."
Right.
Because also what happened was that a lot of these people, right, would like, "Oh, your first problem, you need to focus on one thing." But the thing about creators that I understand from one work with my clients is that it's not necessarily. It's one of those things where you need to do things in succession, yes, but it doesn't mean that you focus on one thing, right? And so I was able to see her vision, and not only that, but a lot of times it's things that seem separate are actually connected, right? And so once the creator can figure out what that connection is, right, I help them figure out that, and then we then progress moving forward in the plan that needs to happen with them, right? And so that's the thing there. It's like, yes, make sure you have someone who actually believes in your vision, because a lot of people out there, and I'll say about even clients who come to me, right? They come to me at the point where they're like, oh my God, I hired this marketing agency and they didn't like do the thing. I don't get it. And oh my God, I was supposed to get the success in like tomorrow, right? And part of it was that marketing agency did sell them on that, knowing full well that's what the person expected, and knowing full well that they did not plan on delivering on that. And so then you just end up with this whole miscommunication. That's a whole nother story. But ultimately, then the first point I mentioned in terms of, be careful who you listen to. A lot of times people are like, yeah, but I have people ask for help with my cousin, my neighbor, the other bakery across the street, this, that. Yeah, I have people who I ask help for. Okay. here's the thing. A lot of times what happens, people are definitely coming, they're giving advice from their own experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I take the example of, like think about, for those listening, or think about your journey even early on in your entrepreneurial experience. A lot of times, like people will tell their family and friends, "I'm going to be an entrepreneur," right? And depending on your network, they'll be like, just stick with the job, like be consistent, da, da, da. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily that they don't believe. Well, yes, they don't believe, but it's more so that maybe they had their own entrepreneurial journey and it didn't work for them.
Yeah.
And so in their mind, it just doesn't work. And
Projection. Yeah.
so when you're talking about it, they're gonna be like, "Oh, just stick with the day job," right? They're coming in from their own experience, right? And then you have someone. Like I was just on a call the other day where someone was asking about advice for LinkedIn, and she's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh yeah, I am." Then it's like this mastermind call, different speakers. She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm thinking I want to revamp my LinkedIn profile, right?" So you had everyone chiming in, like, "Oh, you should do this. Oh, definitely create this thing, and then do your profile in this way." And everyone's chiming in. Great information, love it, right? And the thing about it, though, is that it's information overload. It's unnecessary information overload. It's kind of what we've gone to in the information age, is that it becomes a lot of information overload. And so what happens is that she has all this advice, great advice, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the advice needs to be taken with a grain of salt, right? It needs to be taken into context because the
Yes.
people don't necessarily know her specific situation. They didn't like go on her specific profile and say, "Oh, you should do this and that." They didn't necessarily, do a whole interview process with her to figure out, okay, where are you actually trying to go? What is your ultimate goal? Who are you actually trying to reach, right? Because that's gonna
Yes.
then differentiate what the profile will look like and what actually makes sense for her moving forward, right? Or even if she already has
Exactly.
content, we don't know that, right? Maybe her content is good or bad or doesn't relate to, etc. And so the thing about it is that in the end, for her, what she ultimately needed to do was say, okay, I'm gonna choose one person, and that person's going to do a deep dive into my specific profile, so then I can
Yes.
understand what I actually need to do, not what everyone else needs to do, but what I specifically need to do for my business and my vision, and ultimately where I want to go in, carrying out my mission, whatever it may be. And so that's what thing to say, careful. It's like careful the advice that you take, right? It's just take it with a grain of salt, take it with context, take it within context. And so the
Mm-hmm.
thing about it, like for example, a lot of times I tell people, it's very easy to say, okay, you're a bakery, and then you just have to be friends with the other bakery owner across the street. You go to the bakery owner and they're like, "Okay, what are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, well," it's like, "What are you focusing on this quarter?" "Oh, well, for me, what I'm doing this quarter is I'm working on ads so that we can expand. I'm also, hiring 5 people, and I'm also doing
Right.
this." It's like, "Oh my gosh, like great, okay." Then you just go ahead and you're like, "I'm gonna do the same thing."
And
That's
you
not,
may not even be in that stage to
you
do
don't,
that.
exactly, right? You don't know why are they even doing that? How do they even get to the point where they're, maybe they just got a grant so they can hire 5 people, right?
Right.
Like if it wasn't for that grant, they probably, maybe they wouldn't have hired the 5 people, right? You just don't know,
And
okay?
that's
And then the
we
thing
get
about it,
mixed up in comparing
yes,
ourselves to others too much, and instead of
yes,
focusing on, I like to focus on my why. I always reference back to my why so that I can know where I am in reaching that why,
yep.
solving that why. And that'll help me determine what I need to do next. So for you, what is your why for your
What?
business?
Yes. So it kind of ties to my mission, but in terms of, I'll answer it with the question of my purpose. My purpose is what I defined and understood way before I even thought about entrepreneurship as a thing that I could do. And so this was back in, what was it, 2012, when I discovered my purpose. And so my purpose in life, so take away all the business, all the stuff. My purpose in life is to share information and resources with people so they become better versions of themselves. And so that has always been the purpose, like even throughout my corporate career, even throughout business entrepreneurship. And it carries itself out in different ways. But that is ultimately my purpose. Is always
Mm,
essentially the accessibility of information, because I wouldn't have gone to where I was even at that point in 2012, right? Even today, but definitely at that point in
right.
2012, I wouldn't have gone to where I was if it wasn't for little tidbits of information that I was given. And so, because Google wasn't that really accessible to me, but I have the internet very well. The library was a really great friend. But
Yes.
ultimately, the so I got to where I was through the information that many people, just little tidbits that they would share, and I'd be like, "Ooh, make a note of that." And so
Yeah.
ultimately, given that grace, and then given essentially what I even found myself doing just on a regular natural basis, about get information, I'd be like, "Oh my god, you just said that you're trying to go to law school. Oh, here you go, here's some information I just found out." It just came across my way because I found it that or I believe essentially that ultimately when I'm receiving something, right, I'm essentially the vehicle through which has been chosen to flow through someone else or to someone else, essentially. And so that's how I think about information and resources. And so that's my ultimate purpose in life, is to make information more accessible, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, education comes up again.
Same wavelength, same wavelength. I like to be a resource for others to help them. I see people, so many people with so many ideas, and I'm like, I can visualize the vision with you, and probably sometimes for you, because I have a voiceover client. She was like, you're just playing about this whole voice thing. I'm like, no, your voice is magic. Your voice is magic. So it took her a minute before she was like, okay, I'm serious. I believe you now. Let's go.
Yeah. Yep,
So
yep, yep. And that's the
I
thing about it
like
too.
that.
People have to believe it within themselves. Like for me, it's like if someone doesn't believe it, then I send them to a life coach. But once they get to the life coach that they are like, okay, let's take our business seriously, then I'm like, all right, cool, let's go.
Come back. Mhm.
But ultimately, yeah. But pretty much, it's like people only come to me when they're ready, and I'm okay with that.
Yes, yes, yes. And I like you describe your target market. You said most of them are in their 50s and their retirement age.
Yeah, most of them are between 45 to 60. So think
Okay.
Generation X, essentially. Generation X. So yeah, so Generation X, 45 to 60. And their business is typically making anywhere between 100K to like 500K per year in sales. And they're generally storefront salon shops. I
Okay.
do have a client, I do have clients who are like just online, like an online bakery out in Tennessee, for example, or well, actually the nonprofit technically is
What part?
but
What part of Tennessee?
she is in, it's not Memphis, it's some town that's like an hour away from Memphis. It's
Okay.
like, yeah. But she's not in this Memphis or anywhere near Nashville because I was trying to get to her network. There's a whole thing. But ultimately,
Figure it out and let
yeah.
me know. I have family that way, and I used to work at the Tennessee Lottery, so I would dispatch to different parts of Tennessee. So,
Oh, awesome. I'll let her know. Yeah, she is an online bakery out of Etsy. It's her Etsy shop.
ooh,
So let me see. I'm going to share that. I'll put a note to myself to remember because we were
yeah,
talking about it earlier. Got to make a note to remember.
yeah. I love
Otherwise, I'll
it.
forget. Yes, there we go.
Always making notes. I swear my phone is filled with notes. Okay, so you also like I start working with small businesses. That's my target
Mhm.
market. Those people who don't know exactly how to start, where to start, or if they even should start. So I kind of crank them up a little bit to give them that motivation to like, yes, I can do this. So
Mhm.
that's my target. For you, what was your first step as a person who is offering a service and not quite a physical product
Mhm.
like me? Most of my stuff is digital as a graphic designer and consulting as far as business marketing. Um, what was your first step to starting, and how did you grab that first client?
That's a okay. Okay, I'm gonna go through the early years. So
Yeah.
this all started when I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. If anyone's listening of you and you read that book, if you type in the comments. But I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that book essentially is what helped me to see how accessible entrepreneurship actually is in at least America. And so it was from there that I then ultimately, actually no, then a couple months later, then a couple months later, that's when I woke up with the idea for Your Vision's Catalyst. And at the time that I actually read the book, I was at a time in my corporate life where I was just like, okay, university, keep bringing me these things and this nonsense, and like there must be some different, right? And so someone actually had recommended the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, so I read that book and I was like, oh, there is something different. There's a different quadrant. So I read that book, and then, but then of course, in order to get to the quadrant, you need like a business that you're like, yeah, about in order to make it happen. And so it wasn't
Right.
until a couple months later that I was living in California at the time. Now I'm in Massachusetts. At the time I was living in California, and I essentially woke up on a Sunday morning. It was a Sunday morning. Woke up on a Sunday morning, and that's when the trance happened. And so I grabbed my laptop, started typing away, and 3 hours later, I looked around the room, the back of my laptop, and like it's like, oh my gosh, I now have a business plan, so to speak, right? And
Yes.
so pretty much had the mission, the vision, all the things come into play when it came to the business, right? And then less than a month later, not still at my day job at the time too. Less than a month later, the website was up, the logo, the colors, the words, the all the things, right? And then I was like, oh, now I need a client. Okay, so so
Right.
then after that, so then in order to get the client, right, still kept my day job at the same time too. Still kept my day job, my corporate job. It helped to fund the business. So ultimately, but yeah, that 6 figure salary was really great. But
Yes.
ultimately, I then, in order to get the client, I first reached out to family and friends. And actually, the first step was really looking at. Remember, I texted my friends. Actually, I went to Essex Festival too. But I remember texting my friends as well and just saying, "Oh, hey, what are the top 3 words would you use to describe me?" Right, and then they started like actually one specific friend. I remember she texted resourceful, efficient, go getter. And I remember that those 3 words exactly. And that's what I would use. But to then kind of pitch myself to people. But it really wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like any quick success thing. It was very much like, okay, continue to put myself out there, continue to outreach. And then at some point I decided to, write a book. And so, because ultimately I was like, okay, I need to market and like write stuff. So I probably do like a blog a week. And then of course my mind was like, oh, I don't really want to write anything. Can I just put it all in one place? I was like, ooh, a book.
Book.
And then and the next day, what happened? I think Facebook read my mind because then I saw an ad for a book program. But anyways, so then
Yeah, they always listening. Always listening.
they literally reading my mind. I mean, and so then I ultimately became an author and I wrote a best-selling book, and all of it is my own. I didn't do any of those group book things. But essentially, wrote the book and then essentially created the campaign and did a campaign to make it a bestseller in 3 different categories. And so it became #1 in 3 different categories, and that was awesome. And this was all pre-pandemic. And so that then gave me more confidence. And then I got the best-selling author title, right? And a little bit actually in the beginning stages of my business, like the first 6 months, there was some imposter syndrome, there was some doubt, there's one time I actually, when I talk about be careful who you listen to, right? There was one conversation I had actually with someone who was in like financial advising or something like that. I think at some point she had tried to be a financial coach or whatever, and then she fell back to financial advising. I was on a call with her because I'm like, oh, like this is gonna be like a mentor, so give me advice and wisdom, to learn more about her network.
Yeah.
Ooh, right. She said, like consulting, coaching, because coaching, it's like coaching is really difficult, and a lot of my friends have tried it and they failed. And so just really what you should do is just stick with your day job. And, it's really, really difficult. It's really, really hard. Like, and I never spoke to her ever again. Okay. But ultimately,
you did right.
Like if I
you did right.
Like if I had listened to her, right, I probably wouldn't have been here. But ultimately, that's one of the conversations that happened during the first year of my business. But definitely during the first 6 months, I was imposter syndrome, some doubt, because like, oh, who am I to be, who am I?
Yeah.
I guess I have a skill, but like, do I know? Anyway. But
Yes.
ultimately, it was the whole thing. And the next 6 months was then like shiny object syndrome, because then I was like, everything, I was like, something is missing, but what? Something is missing, but what? So, anytime an ad came up, that was like 6 figures in 6 months, 100K in like 6 days, or use this strategy and it will change your game. I was like, oh yeah, let me buy this, buy that, buy this. Anyways, I invested a lot of courses and programs. Over $120,000 spent, over $130,000 spent actually, in different things. But ultimately, yes, yes. But I did all that. Fast forward years later, right? I realized I went through that journey because now it's like through all the different experiences, I'm able to help my clients even better. Right. Like there was one client where she was like, ooh, you know what I thought about? I should do like a course. And I was like, ooh, like, yeah, a course would be great. She's like, totally understand. And you definitely are going to do that. Now, though, what you're going to work on, right? And helping her to see that it's like wonderful ideas and we have to manage it and appropriately, tame it.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that all these things come up even when you're 6 figures in mid-30, right? I think a lot of people, they think like, even like literally a client came to me, she has $350,000 per year in her business, right? And she came to me, why? Because she was like, she still was at the point where she was like, she didn't believe that she was actually the owner of this business, right? That was making this amount of money. Why? Because there was all this stuff happening in the past and her child, all these things that sort of came into play, right? And so she was having trouble even just looking at the money. She was like thinking that something was going to be wrong with it. Even 12 years in business, making $350,000 per year in sales, right? And so it's one of those things where these imposter syndrome, these fear of success, like all this stuff always takes it's a different form, as you progress in business. And the thing is that what you can do, though, the only thing you can really control is yourself. And so it's how do you manage that? Like I even think about for myself, right? There will be times when I'll see that shiny object. I'll be like, ooh, but then because I've learned for myself,
Yes.
I like now have the tools in place to say, all right, decision making. Okay. All right. Like idea and
like no, don't touch that.
And
don't touch that. Yeah.
right now, it'll be a little different. It's gonna be this thing, right? and all that sort of stuff that I put in place, right? And so ultimately, that shiny object doesn't last, into $40,000 in more spending. It lasts like,
Yes.
okay, great, right? I'm much better saying no now these days. And it's been or saying no at sort of business opportunities. I put that in quotes for those are business opportunities, right?
Right.
Like one of my clients actually was. So I live in Massachusetts. I was actually able to visit a client out in Michigan. She's in the rural Michigan, so like way north.
Okay.
But
Yes.
essentially, I went out to visit her. Flew out to visit her a few weeks ago, and we were talking about this because she was definitely, or she is, a lot of like the shiny object idea creator, like creator, full on creator, always like seeing opportunities in different places and always getting presented opportunities by people, right? And the thing is that for her, it was really getting her to understand, like, okay, yes, great opportunities, right? But they don't necessarily need to happen today, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean it's never going to happen, but today just may not be the day. And that is
Right.
okay, right? Because it will happen. But let's think about the priorities of what you're working on, right? Instead of getting you and your family into more debt for absolutely no reason, right? Like just because yes, a property is available and you could rehab it with your husband, great, but
Mm-hmm.
you haven't even rehabbed the first couple of properties, right? So let
Yeah.
and so the thing is that when it comes to creative profiles, it's a lot of times when it's just things just get a little muddled a little bit. But ultimately, it's like if you're listening, you're a viewer who like a lot of ideas come to you. You got the shiny object. Just think parking lot, right? Just think, okay, you have a parking lot of ideas, and it's great. You have a running, think of it like a running to do list, but a running just parking lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And one day you'll take out the BMW, right? And you'll drive it around, right? And that doesn't mean that the Lamborghini is going to go away. No, it's just in the parking lot. And that's all right. And then one day you'll go into the parking lot and you'll get that Lamborghini. Or you'll say, you know what, let me get the Toyota instead. Let me get that
Yeah.
one instead. And that is okay. And that is all right. They're all going to be driven one day, right? It
I
doesn't have to
like
have
that
a car.
analogy. I like it.
But
It's
yes,
about picking and choosing what's appropriate at this particular time, and also
exactly.
patience. Patience. Be patient with
Yes.
yourself. See this part through. Let it flourish. Then enjoy that time with that Lamborghini. Luxury time.
Yes, exactly. I think of it this way, like, think about it before you make that decision, before you say yes to something, right? Even when you're on the sales call and someone's like, oh yeah, you should totally do this thing because this thing and like it'll be revolutionary for your business and like this is what we do for the business and this and that and this and that. Think to yourself, are you gonna be saying yes out of patience? Or are you saying yes out of worry? If you're saying yes out of worry and fear, then do not say yes.
Okay.
Do
Good
not make
advice, you guys. Be mindful of why you're saying yes. Be mindful. Okay, so you've been around quite a few businesses. Could you share some of the strong characteristics you've noticed in successful businesses and some of the weaknesses that may cause the downfall of a business?
Yeah. So in terms of what do I want to start the downfall? Well, I guess they're gonna be hand in hand. Let's start with the downfall. Essentially, I'll describe in place. So in terms of the downfalls
Hmm.
of a business, right? It's when the business owner doesn't ask for help, whether it be like getting a outside advisor. So I'm more of a trusted strategic advisor for my clients, or if it's getting staff like getting the assistant or getting the team member who can stay in the store or getting, like that type of stuff, right? And so it's not asking for help either in hiring people or even like getting additional people on your sort of like advisory team. And so that's a downfall. And the success of the people who actually do ask for help, right? And they're okay to ask for help. And you'll notice, I mean, even if you look at all the, right, like Tyler Perry had help, Rihanna had help, right? Like all these people, they may not tell you who helped them,
Right.
right? You're not in their circle. You're not privileged enough to know who, but they didn't do it alone. They
Of
didn't do it alone.
course.
And
Of course.
so it's understanding that you make it when you are a team. It takes a village, right? It takes a village to raise a child. Guess what? Your business is your child. So it takes a village to raise your child. Okay. So
Indeed.
there's that. And then so that's like the big thing. And then another downfall would be ultimately a lot of times it's the cash flow mismanagement. So the mismanagement of the cash flow and the finances. And sometimes that comes from either not looking at the money or just ignoring it, or essentially, looking at it and then getting worried and just it's a whole thing. It's a whole financial management piece, or lack of financial wellness in a sense. And so that also is a downfall that I've seen. And so the success version of that is when a client is making a profit, right? They're profitable in their business, and
Right.
they're aware of what the profit is. At the same time, with those profits and even with the expenses of their business, they're also paying themselves as the owner so that they can enjoy, right, and the rewards of their actual business and their labor, right, that they're putting in,
Right.
or that they have put in during the past, 8 plus 5, even 1 year, right? And so there's that. And then three, it's, well, I guess the success that some of the success that I help my clients create. And you have to see this without, but essentially, the success that I help my clients create, I say, is time freedom. And so the downfall a lot of times when it comes to business owners is that they are, it's that whole myth that you gotta like, just
Be
hustle, hustle,
working.
hustle, and like,
Yeah.
work 24 hours, nap like 30 minutes, and there you go, and like you'll be good to go. The end, like just hustle, 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 do it
Like
for like a year,
it's a
you'll be good.
flex to be like almost just not even functioning,
Exactly,
basically.
exactly, right? Burnout, pretty much, is what it is.
Yeah.
And so that's literally the downfall, right? Is the burnout, because what happens at that burnout point, you'll even see, if you've even seen your posts from peers where they'll say, "Oh, I decided to take a break from social media. It was getting too much." That's someone who burned out. Or you haven't heard me from me in a while. I'm back though. I'm back though. Like I had to take a break. Self care. No, that's burnout. Okay. So
Facts.
the thing
I
about
know
it is
all about
that
it.
the thing about it's all about, like, especially when it comes to business, you have to be consistent, right? And so
Yeah.
what's the alternative to that? What's the success? What is essentially not burning out? What does the success look like? The success looks like when you are in that flow, when you are ultimately, right, getting things done and still taking care of
Yeah.
yourself in the process, right? And it's, ensuring that you're optimizing. It's why I'm all about efficiency and effectiveness, but you're optimizing your time, your money, and your energy to the best of your ability so that you can get those 8 hours of sleep if you want, or maybe you're a 6 hour sleep person, whatever it may be, right? But you get the sleep that you need and want, and you also get the energy that you need and want, and you also get the business that you also want and can have,
Yes.
right? And it all kind of like comes together. And I think of it as like this phrase that I was connected with a client this past week, and she said this phrase, and I was like, oh my god, I've heard this from like so many of my clients, but it was like, oh my god, like everything is just falling into place now. Those exact same words, I've heard them from literally like so many guys. Like, everything is falling into place now, right?
Love
And what
it.
does that mean? Is that it's that level of calm and confidence in taking action and making things happen with your business. Because when you're operating from a state of stress or panic or worry, or like, just like, yeah, I'm here, like,
I
I'm
made
here.
it through the day.
Yeah, I made it. Right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, thank goodness for the weekend. Like, you might as well just have a day job. You might just
Yeah.
go back to your day job. I mean, literally. I mean, what's the difference? Like, just go back to your day job. You're gonna do
Yeah.
say the same things, right? And so, yeah, I'm just leave it at that.
Great stuff. Great stuff, because I hear it all the time. I feel some of it myself because I am one of those people that have to take a break, or so much is going on that I neglect certain parts. So I come here apologizing to my K squad all the time. Like, I'm sorry, y'all. But we getting better. We trying to find this balance. So of you said calm and confidence. I'm
Yeah,
trying to find that. So, and I'm not
business
afraid to
life
say it.
balance.
It's a working process.
Yeah, business life. I think of it a different way. It's like, let that vacation be a planned thing versus a I just need it to happen,
Yeah.
right? It's like you shouldn't go on vacation because you're like, I just need this vacation right now. It should just be a part of the everyday. Right now, I'm going on a weekend trip with my husband like, it should just be something that's just part of the everyday versus something that's like, all right, we're gonna work for 2.5 months, and now we will just like burn out. So now we deserve the vacation. Now we
Yeah.
deserve it because we hustle. Now we deserve it, quote unquote. Like, no, 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 no. Okay, the vacation just be something that you do, right? It shouldn't be something
Yeah.
that you like strive to deserve. It's something that you just do.
That's definitely a whole new meaning, because most people think vacation is, their break from that burnout.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
get you. I get you. Okay, before we switch over, I do have one last thing. I like to take a look at trends and, of course, the different social media platforms that are out. I'm gonna throw out a few of them, and you tell me what you think about that particular platform and the purpose you might see for it. Maybe give an example of a client that could have better use for it. Because I had one person, I was trying to tell them that their business, you have to find, like I said, you have to find your target market, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to know where they congregate.
Yep.
So where do you need to, put all of your time and energy in your marketing?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start out with Instagram. What are your views on it? Who should use it? Scenario.
So the thing about Instagram is, for me, like I tell my clients, it's all of the platforms are based on your audience and your market and all those things, right? Someone could say though, but everyone's on Instagram though, so I should be using Instagram, right? That's going to be their what they say. It's like, okay, so then what I tell my clients is that just because everyone but do you fit with Instagram, right? And so I tell people it's a combination of not just where your audience is, but it's also how do you communicate, right? So Instagram is if you're trying to communicate with via picture. So think like a food business, a retail, a things that like involve pictures, right? Like I have seen some of my, competitors, consultants and coaches on the Instagram, right? Because they're also trying to reach businesses. And those businesses are on Instagram. It's a whole cycle.
Right.
But ultimately, like Instagram is not one of the platforms I use, but I have my clients use it. For example, I have a client who's a children's book author. Instagram was the main platform that we decided to choose for her to essentially continue to increase her following with her business. And she went from like 50 of her friends to an intentional like 2,000 people, right, in the span of like less than 4 months, because we were being intentional with it and like focusing the time and energy, all that stuff, right, when it came to her and her business at the same time, doing a lot of things that she does in life as well too. And she's more of the millennial age, like late 30s. But ultimately, right, for her, and I have another client who does have a home decor business, right? And so Instagram has been what works the best for her as well too. So she's able to take, pictures of the shops and show that to people and all that sort of jazz, right? The food businesses, right? You're able to like take certain, pictures of the food and all the things. Versus, I do have a client who like she has a wine bar, right? So her wine bar. Now, taking pictures of the wine bar and the cheese and all that jazz, like it does work for Instagram. Yes, absolutely. It's an easy way to get, to get a little bit of followers and like make it happen, right? But for her, depending on like her audience, right, she may not want it's like, okay, where is your audience actually hanging out? Who actually are in that town, etc. Right? And so it's a whole thing where if you are a business owner who you don't mind taking photos or videos or sharing quick little clever things and captions and all like then by all means go forth and prosper.
Yes. So that would be the same TikTok, since those are moving pictures.
Yeah, TikTok. I would say, well, TikTok is more like, because it's not just because like on Instagram you can put a video up and like it's cool, right? TikTok is like another level of like the video needs to look a certain way. Like it needs to look, you need to put like extra stuff in the video.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like people, because also you would think another thing about the platforms, you have to think about how people interacting with that platform, right? Like they're interacting with videos on TikTok versus people interact with images and series of images on Instagram, right? Yes, video also is powerful on Instagram, and also images are also still very powerful too. And so when it comes to the TikTok though, it's literally videos, right? And you have to craft the video in a certain way, and it's like put little cute little things in there, right? And so it's not just a video.
You
right?
have to catch what's trending to even
exactly right. Exactly. Whereas this live show here, this is video technically, like this is video. Would you put it on TikTok?
No.
Exactly. Right. So it's just even just different ways that people interact with the platform, different ways that you have the platform, right? But now let's say you took like a 2-minute snip of this and then you put little thingies around it.
Yeah.
It could be good for TikTok. Everyone. But yeah. So that's what I say.
Strategic. It has to be strategic. Okay. LinkedIn. Now that's one that I'm not too familiar with, but I know that there is a specific audience for it.
Yeah. So my two main platforms are LinkedIn and Facebook. And technically I'm on quote unquote Instagram, but I'm not actually on it when you compare it to my LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm literally posting on LinkedIn and Facebook like 3-4 times a week. And so, but ultimately when it comes to LinkedIn specifically, so LinkedIn is definitely like more professional audience, right? And so, yeah, I mean, I have posted a couple of photos or two of my pole dancing classes, but ultimately, or being in my pole dancing classes, but ultimately though, it is a very like professional type of audience though, when it comes to LinkedIn, right? So think either like, let's say you're a career coach, or let's say you're looking to connect with, speakers, or you're looking to connect with coaches and consultants, like they will have, or people who are corporate trainers, or you're looking to connect with a corporate audience, like you're connecting with like not necessarily the person working at McDonald's as a cashier, but the person working at McDonald's as like the VP at the headquarters, right? And so that's kind of the way to think about LinkedIn. And then Yeah, so I think it's kind of pretty much like that audience, right? If we're looking to reach professionals, right? And so, for example, one of the things I was doing in my journey, right, as I was building your business catalyst, was I was also reaching people who are also tied to me, right? As I was a corporatepreneur, I was making that transition, and so LinkedIn was a great platform to connect with people, right? And so LinkedIn was a way. And so now I use LinkedIn, or I have been using LinkedIn for the past year or two or so, for more of the like speaker side of my business, even the professor side of my business, even the author
Right.
side of my business, right? As a consultant, based on the industries that I work with and serve, those business owners are not necessarily on LinkedIn. They're not. I think
Okay.
like all my retail and food clients, they're not
Yeah.
on LinkedIn. Like they don't, they're like LinkedIn. Like they're like, I've been in business for 10 years. What is like LinkedIn? What is this LinkedIn thing? Like,
I
like for them, they was yeah.
I always think of LinkedIn as like a corporate mixer where you're rubbing shoulders and elbows
Yes.
with different
Yes.
people just
Or even a
to
business
network.
mixer. Even a
Yeah,
business mixer, right? Like so
network.
even like B2B, right? But
Yeah,
even B2B like from a small business perspective, right? So even if it's like, you're at the happy hour networking with like,
yeah,
financial advisors and like other, business
yeah.
people and funders, like that's like LinkedIn.
That's what I think of when yeah, exactly. You got it. You feel me? Okay,
But
so
then it's like the thing about it is that it also, the content that you put on there, because of
mhm,
that, it's a little bit different, right? You also put images. You can also put videos,
yeah,
but they look a little different. Look a little different.
exactly. You gotta know who's following and
Yep. Yep.
what they would appeal to, how you would
Exactly.
appeal to
Exactly.
them.
Yeah, actually just posted an article on LinkedIn today too. See, there's different things
Oh,
you can do. Like the thing about LinkedIn also, it's more so I would say also if you're trying to build up an expertise in a field, that's another way to think about LinkedIn too. If you're
okay.
trying to build up expertise in a field, and it's a field that relates to like businesses, small, medium, large. Yeah.
Okay. That's another way to look at it. So, anybody out there, offering those types of services and you're trying to target that specific audience, definitely try LinkedIn. Know your audience and know where they congregate.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about vlogging? Like, who should use the vlog tool?
I'm actually not too familiar with vlogging, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming it's like video blogging.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming it's just another form of video. I'm not
It
familiar with
is.
blogging. Describe it to me. Who's on there?
Okay. So, let's see.
See, always learn something new, folks. Always learn something new.
I've done a few. You could do get ready with me, where you're getting ready, but you're also talking about something that you feel is important that they might need to know, or
Wait, and
just
actually, correct. Is vlogging a platform or is it more so
it's a
a
tool,
way
just
of
more,
communication?
just what you do on YouTube a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or take your audience with you somewhere.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a platform. Okay,
No,
yes.
no, no,
So in
no.
terms of video blogging,
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think everyone should like pretty much do it. It's also kind of think of it the way that you launch things or the way that you because a business is a series of launches, by the way, folks. So when I say launch, I just mean like you're starting a new business. I mean like
Mm-hmm.
you're launching a new product, a new service, a new way of like the Apple 3.0 versus the Apple 1.0.
Yeah.
The iPhone 13 versus the iPhone 12, right? iPhone 13 also
A
had a
new
launch, but
feature. Yeah,
yes,
something.
exactly. So I say that it's helpful to bring the audience along your journey, right? And
Yeah.
so when they're, like it's sort of a like behind the scenes,
Yes, I
you
always
know,
say make yourself a human interest piece. You see how people get
yes,
so invested in people who are on like love and hip hop and things like that. They start to follow their journey outside of the show.
hmm
So when you get invested into the brand, you're the first person to know, hey, what new product is coming or what new album is coming and things like that.
exactly. And so for you as a business or listener, for you as like a business owner, depending on what field you're in, vlogging is great. I think that in terms of I always tell people like three pieces of content you want, right? You want the promotion, the value, but also the casual. The casual being like stuff about you as a business owner, right? And whether
Yeah.
it be your family, your team, your whatever it may be, but it's like things about you and something that you are a real person. But you also are a real brand, and you also like have life, and the brand has life, and company has life, and the store has
Exactly.
life, and it's just like this is more tangible and real. So yeah, so vlogging, and the thing is that when it comes to vlogging, you can do it on many different platforms, right? You can do it on Instagram, like we talk about videos
Yeah.
on Instagram. You do it on Instagram Reel. You can do it on the TikTok, right? You could even do it. There are people who will post like some vlogging stuff on LinkedIn as well
Yeah.
too. Like
Okay.
that is a thing that people do too. So like, yeah.
I haven't explored that part yet, but good to know. Good to know. And I say bring that to Instagram as well. So people who offer a service, because I've seen in the comments where people will be like, all you do is post your service. This can't be real. So show the people that you're not a robot, basically.
Yes, yes. So you're not a scam artist.
Right, right. I had a client. I was working their Instagram, and as soon as I made a post, they was like, "Oh, this is scam," and I'm like, "Sir, don't do that. That's not nice. Not nice at all." Okay, the last one. Who should be throwing business luncheons? Because I'm seeing a lot of people, trying to capitalize it off of it. A business lunch, type of mixer meeting, getting people to pay admission fees and things like that. Who should benefit from these business luncheons?
Well, who should benefit? Who should? Okay. So I guess so I think, I answer that from two sides, right? So there's the person organizing and the person attending.
Okay.
So in terms of the person organizing, I mean, bringing people together so they can, network. I think that they're, yeah, by all means, go right ahead and do that. So me specifically, I'll give some context. So I've been in the virtual networking space. So in terms
Mhm.
of like, I've been networking pre-pandemic. We had to go to happy hours and all that
Right.
jazz. Then online happened. I was like, okay. And then I was like, okay, I want to get back to in person. But there still was an in person event. So I happened upon this whole virtual networking group space. And so I've been virtual networking for the past maybe like 16 months or so. And so
Hmm.
there's so many groups out there. And now that the pandemic is, sort of lifting off, people are like, oh, let's get back to meeting in person.
Yes.
Now they're planning all these events for people to meet up with, right? Like
Yeah.
business mixers or etc. I think maybe that's what you referred to, right? And so
Yeah.
with that being said, I would say from the organizer perspective, like if you have the bandwidth and the time and energy to like do that, by all means, I would say if you're thinking about it in terms of like a business move, at the very least, you brought people together and they'll remember you for that, right? The next level version of that would be like, do you have people speaking there? Is it like a conference? Is it a small event? Is it like a big workshop, etc.? So, for example, right, something that I actually co-hosted and collaborated with someone out in my area, Massachusetts. We did an in-person event like a couple months ago, and it was the
Hmm.
topic was on like from busy to productive, and so she was doing more of like the breathing exercises and sort of
Mm.
mental health aspect of
Yeah.
time management. I was doing more of the strategy and tactics of time management, right? And so, but we brought that together. It made a lot of sense, right? So people would learn, etc.
Yeah.
Right? And so, then we had a networking component afterwards because there was a brewery, bar like next to the yoga
Yeah.
studio, and so that was kind of like the post event situation. And so that was a whole like what 3 to 4 hours or so, and so that's like that thing, right? But let's say if you're coming into a mix as an attendee, your benefit will just depend on the people in the room, right? Like, and so, like for example, there are these chambers that are already hosting events. They've already been hosting events for many, many decades, centuries,
Hmm.
probably, right? You have chambers of commerces that business come together. They've already been hosting events for like the beginning of time, and
Yeah.
so, but now there are people who are kind of breaking out. They're trying to do it, and so the thing is that it just depends on who's in the room, right? Like if you're let's say you are a printing shop and you're looking, right, to meet businesses who need printing done, flyers or whatever it
Yeah.
may be, then you should probably go to this event with other business owners to network yourself, right? To
Yeah.
network your business. If you are, let's say you're like a real estate investor, you're just looking for more properties. An event that's attracting, I don't know, like a bunch of bakery owners. I mean, yeah, you can get some benefit from it because maybe they're selling their store. Maybe they're
Right.
thinking about transferring. And then you could be like, ooh, I can invest in this. Maybe not, right? So it's like there's always an opportunity to like learn something and meet someone. And so it's one of those things where you just got to think about it in terms of your like, look at the event, look who's hosting it, look what the
Yeah.
agenda is, right? Look at what's happening, who's who. You may not be able to see the attendees, but if you read the description of the event and even see the flyer, you'll know who the organizer is actually trying to attract, Now, whether or not they attract that person is a whole nother story. But you'll be able to see who they're actually trying to attract into the event. And then that'll
Right.
give you a basis of, should I even attend?
Now that's a good tip, because a lot of people say, "Oh, here's a business mixer. Here's a business mixer. I'm just gonna go here. I'm just gonna go there." Pay attention and make sure your why is there.
Yeah. Be intentional. Be
Mhm.
intentional. That's all it is. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So now we've broken down the business, and I think we want to get to know you just a little bit more personally.
Okay, cool.
What are some of your favorite hobbies in your downtime, your self-care?
Yeah, so what like tell people. So my mantra is to have fun, grow money, and share. It used to be have fun, make money, and share, but then as of the past month, I was like, ooh, next level of business, have fun, grow money, and share. But ultimately, so have fun, grow money, and share is my mantra. And in my like bio, what I tell people is that it involves musicals, Harry Potter, and dessert. And I also run on the side too. So I do some running. I think I mentioned earlier in this episode my pole dancing classes. So I participate in pole dancing classes, trying to get more in touch with my feminine energy on a regular basis. So I do that. And then what else? Pretty much just having fun. Like tonight, I'm going with a peers. Well, one of my peers is hosting a 70s party,
Okay.
70s based party. So I'll be dressing up for that and heading out, meeting a group
Are we
of
doing
people.
afro,
I already had
curl?
the afro. I'm not doing any more extra.
Okay.
The first
Got
year.
you.
We don't
Got you.
like.
Got you.
But let me be decked out some color. But yeah, so. So then I'll be doing that later this evening. I mean, a few weeks ago I went, to batting cages and went to play some pool with a networking peer of mine as well. So pretty much just like to have fun, grow money, and share. And it doesn't take
I like it. I like it.
yeah, I can do a lot of things and I still have fun. Pretty much.
Make money, grow money, and share. I
Yeah,
like
have fun, grow
that.
money, and share. Yep.
Yes. So, okay, that's one of your mantras. Do you have any other life philosophies that kind of keep you balanced?
Well, my motto, MOTTO, my motto is to keep it simple, then keep it moving.
Yes. Yes. Because once you start doing too much, other things come into play, and it just clouds your mind. So I get it. I like it. What are some things that are on your bucket list?
So things on my bucket list. Let's see. I'm gonna go skydiving.
Ooh.
I want to do a cross country road trip in the
On
U.S.
mine. That's on mine.
What else? What else do I want to do? What was on the bucket list? It just kind of come up, I guess. Let's see.
This just kind of fell into my lap. My birthday was in July, and my friend was like, one year I did like 33 new things, tried 33 new things within a year. So I think I've already tried about 5 on mistake. So I think I'm gonna try to finish that out for the rest of the year. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. I think those are two main things right now. At least those are the two top of mind things. I think there's a whole right, and then there are things that like aren't on the bucket list, but they're part of the vision, right? So I don't consider them bucket list things. It's like, yeah, we'll have a real estate investment portfolio.
Okay.
I'll definitely have that. That's not a bucket list. It's gonna happen.
It's exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just I don't know. Well, yeah.
They come up and you be like, oh yeah, that must be done. It'll come.
Oh, bucket list. Piano. Well, I started doing piano lessons a couple of years ago. Or taking piano lessons a couple of years ago. I picked it up really quickly, and then work, job, business, all things. And then yes, I want to take that up again, and I eventually, yes, I don't know what I want to do with that, but eventually.
Okay, so musically inclined too. I like it. That's we already connecting. I see. All right, so let's see. I like to support my fellow boss ladies and my fellow bosses. Tell me what I can do to help you with your vision and your business growth. What is something that I can do as a fellow business person?
What is top of mind in the business today? I would say essentially, ultimately, if you know of a local Laura, so if you know of someone who's in their mid-50s but looks like they're 40, right? They still got a lot of life left in them, and they've had a business, whether a storefront, a salon, a shop, a cafe, a bakery, and they're just not where they want to be. They're still working those tireless hours, still not making it home for dinner, and they're justifying it by saying, well, it's not work hard, right? You see that they're tired and exhausted. Then by all means, feel free to send them my way to the business defibrillator. And yeah, I'll say, if anything, it's actually That's the way of helping me, but also really helping them. So
Yeah.
continue making their income and impact and get to that financial freedom that they deserve and should have.
Awesome, awesome. I would definitely do. I gotta go kind of cleanse through my list and see who's doing what and where they see where they see themselves and
Mm-hmm.
if they are in need of their help. But as for new business owners, people who are in the midst of making it to that retirement age, what advice do you have for them today? People who are trying to reinvent themselves and new business owners.
Yeah, I would say that first of all, congrats to reinventing yourself. Takes a lot of courage, right? For those looking to reinvent themselves, and no matter what age you are, right. So it takes a lot of courage to essentially go against what everyone else around you is doing, because
Yes.
likely that's essentially what's usually happening. And so yeah, so I'd say first of all, congrats to you. In terms of tips, it goes back to I think what we shared here in this episode. But ultimately, it's ensure you get the right advice, right? You don't know what you don't know, so don't be afraid, to ask for
Ask for
help or
help.
to ask for information or to ask to get clarifying information or whatever it may be. And so, yeah, and then three, I would say, is just keep moving forward, right? And really, ultimately, if you're doing something that's tied to your passion and your why and your mission, right, then there's not really the only excuse is really you, right? And
Hmm.
so, when you say to, oh, I can't do this because of that and this, it's really okay, is there someone else who can do that? What is, like there are different ways and different ways to like problem solve things to get what you want, right? Where there's will, there's way, as they always say, right? And I've definitely experienced that in my life, and I've seen that for clients, and it's a whole thing. But yeah, I would say if you're a new business owner, first of all, congratulate yourself. And two, just know that road is not as simple or easy. It can be made easier though. Like, there was a client I had who she was reinventing herself. And she was a VP and a chief diversity officer. And she's, in her late 50s, empty nester, kids already out the house, all that sort of jazz, had her second husband, they loving life.
Right.
Well, she wanted to reinvent herself, right? She always wanted to do an HR consulting company. And so,
Mm.
but for her, she realized she didn't know what she didn't know. And so she had already been following me for a couple of years. And so instead of, trying to do it herself for like 5 to 10 years, she literally within the first 6 months, she already reached out. Like, I want help
Yes.
with it. I want to do it right. I want to get it off and going. Right. And fast forward 6 months later, and she's like, she can't even believe with the success that she's having, right, with her business, the connections that
Yes.
she's making, and all the journey, right? But it takes essentially knowing what you don't know, being able to admit to that, and getting the help that you actually need and want to move forward. Because the only excuse for your business not making it is going to be you.
Yes. I agree. I agree. Well, that is wonderful. It's time to kind of wrap this up. This has been another session of the Boss Chick Corner with spotlighting Miss Vanessa Zamy. You are amazing, ma'am. Like, I love your energy. I love all of the information that you have provided, and I'm glad we were able to speak in this space and in this capacity today. Know that you are always welcome here. So let the people know where they can find you.
Well, LinkedIn and Facebook. So you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook. And so yeah, so LinkedIn, Vanessa Zamy, or on Facebook, Vanessa Zamy. I have my personal profile. I have my business page too, but I post a lot more on my personal profile. So
Mhm.
feel free to just say, hey, Mitchie, I saw you on the show. But yeah, but LinkedIn is the best way to reach me. And yeah, happy to help.
Yes, and I also see your website up there. I'm gonna make it a little
Oh
bit
yes,
bigger if
yourvisionscatalyst.com. Yes. So my email is also going to be on that site too. So if you want to click that, feel free to send me an email. And yeah, that's all.
awesome, awesome. Well, if anyone wants to be a guest or suggest a topic, please shoot me a message on my Facebook Messenger in the inbox or email me at the address that is scrolling below. Until next time, squad, keep it bossy, keep it saucy, and don't forget to tell me how you bossing. We out.